Julian, it means it's 3 defeats in a week for Liverpool, 2 in the Premier League, 2 late ones in the Premier League, and of course that defeat to Galatasaray in the Champions League. Is this a blip or big reasons to worry?
I think a bit of both, really. Last season they never lost 3 in a row. They only once lost twice. That was back in March, so it took them a long time to get there. This time, only at the beginning of October, and it's 3 defeats. It was 3 very difficult away games to start with, to say. Away at Palace, away at Galatasaray, and then away at Chelsea. But for all the time where they find solutions, even when they were not playing great last season or even earlier this season, sometimes with late goals, sometimes with something Slot would do or individual brilliance from a Salah or somebody else. In the last 3 games, they haven't been able to do that. And really, I think they lack balance, they lack structure, which is maybe the most worrying of that defeat yesterday, was that you never felt they were really in control of that game. Even in the second half when they were playing better, they never really felt in control.
A lot's been made of Liverpool's defensive work, and rightly so, but today, for me, that's not why they've lost this game. They've lost this game because in the last 15-20 minutes, they're creative players, they're players in the final half of the pitch, the midfield players and the forwards who were absolutely useless. They were giving the ball away like you wouldn't believe. I mean, Gakpo down here, Salah over on that far side, the wastage, Verts not knowing how to get into a game in the last 15 minutes when it was there for the taking and just sort of almost marking Caicedo. I was watching him quite a lot. And yeah, but Chelsea, honestly, the way in which they kept going, they kept attacking, the players they've lost during the game, it was a brilliant win for them. And it's been a tough week or two. And I wasn't expecting that after Liverpool scored, I have to say.
And inside it says, for Arne Slot's team, this was the 3rd straight defeat in 8 days. There were times when they looked impressive, but they finished the game with 2 midfielders in the back 4. And having plundered so many late goals themselves this season, they finally discovered last week it was as well how it felt to be on the other end of it. Jason, the start to the season that they had and all of those late goals, was there a feeling of unsustainability about it all?
Yeah, so it's either one or two things happening, wasn't it? One, it's a mark of champions that you can keep going and score a goal late on, which everyone was trying to convince themselves was the case, or it's a team slightly getting away with it. And I was at quite a few of those games, and even that first game against Bournemouth, they were actually quite lucky to win that match. And there was a bit of alarm bells ringing then about that. And obviously they did fantastically well to then go and win so many games late on. But actually, in the last week, maybe that's been balanced out a little bit by the reality of the fact that this is a team in transition. They've done a very bold summer. They've made a huge number of changes. It's clearly Arne Slot and Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes putting their mark on the team. This is no longer a Jurgen Klopp side. This is now Arne Slot, Michael Edwards, Richard Hughes saying this is the Liverpool going forward. Now, to do all of that in one summer was always going to be quite risky. Make so many changes. Although in saying that, the team that started yesterday, most of them were there last season. Only a couple of new players in Kirkes and obviously the goalkeeper they bought anyway. But I think They've also tried to change the style of play, be more expansive, and that's going to make them a little more open as well. So Slot's trying to put his imprint on the team that are champions, and in itself that's quite an interesting experiment to do that. I think there's always going to be a difficult period for them. I think in some ways they did better than we thought by winning those games at the start. I know it's a bit weird saying that, having spent so much money, but actually, they look like a team in transition to me, and to do that in this situation is quite risky. And I think that there's risks I've sort of come against them this last week. They've obviously been caught out and going into the international period now. They've got to try and sort it all out. But I think it's a work in progress for Liverpool, and I think they are some way off being the team they want to be.
Yes, 1 out of 2 wins in the Champions League. But with the team in transition, are there any specific problems that you can see that have kind of developed over the games that they've played so far this season?
I think the reason it's being described as a crisis by Jamie Carragher, who would know because he watches probably every kick of Liverpool, is because of the size of the club and what they achieved last season. But I think last season, because the new manager came in, there weren't so many changes, were there, structurally in terms of the team. It was almost easier to get that kind of fluency, whereas now it's a case of spending £400 million or so, signing these huge players and a young player in Florian Wirtz. And people are thinking, we'll just take this brilliant guy from Germany in Wirtz and we'll just slot him into this amazing Liverpool side and obviously things will be better. We got Isak. Obviously, we'll just score more goals. Ekitike, I think, looks fabulous, by the way, and he has slotted in. But then the manager's got far more issues to consider. You've got the off-pitch issues of players fitting into a new lifestyle, a new culture, a new new place to live, all these things. The likes of Wirtz having to settle into a new team where he's not the main man, where he's got players like Gakpo, he's got Salah moving into the positions that he would traditionally own in Germany. You've got loads of different issues. And of course, the fullback situation as well. Conor Bradley having to be taken off yesterday, being on a yellow card, really disrupted the flow. Carragher, who somehow cost about £6 million more than Ryan Aït-Nouri, trying to work out how that happened. Perhaps they should have gone for Aït-Nouri instead, although Carragher is a good player. Is he Liverpool standard? Is he up to the standard that Andy Robertson was at his best? There are all these different factors and question marks. And I think it's just a case of a huge club losing 3 in a row. 2 late ones are an absolute killer if you're a supporter of the club. And it is going to take time for these things to settle down. But all those factors that the guys have mentioned they all play a part, they all add up, don't they? And I think not having that solid platform at the back and question marks over the fullback situation and being short at centre-half are really, really big issues. And then when you add into the squad dynamic, the fact that they have so many new players bedding in, I think it's easy from the outside just to look at the big green bit in the centre of the stadium and just think everything's about that. But it's not. It's about the dynamic off the field as well. And these things can take time. It's a huge overhaul. But those basics and the lack of a solid defence at the moment and the depth in there is a big issue. And
We've created more than enough chances to score more than 1 goal last week and today. And when we did, I think there was a period of the game where I felt now we're going to win it. We came a lot of times very close with chances, but also with moments where we had a 4 versus 3 in our favour. Not outplaying it well enough in the last pass, but and in the last 10 minutes it was an end-to-end game. Both teams could have won it, and we didn't, and Chelsea did. If the result would have been better today with a draw or a win, which was both possible, I don't say we deserved it. A draw we definitely deserved, but then we would have had a great start to the season if you take into account everything that what happened in the summer in Liverpool.
Don Hutchison joining us now. Frank Leboeuf is with us as well, but only one place to start here. Stevie Nicol, how are you feeling?
Well, to be honest, I'm listening to Arne Slot, and I've been in this position before where you've gotten beaten by a late goal, you've had a couple of chances in the game, and so you're clinging on and trying to spin it in a way that actually you're unlucky. But Arne Slot has to look at the big picture here. Liverpool, yet again, were not half the side they were last year. Liverpool, again, were guilty of coughing the ball up. Liverpool, again, were guilty of getting run through in the middle of the park. They were guilty defensively of not defending properly. I mean, there are so many things that were wrong with Liverpool that have been wrong with them since the season started, not just today's game. And so he's clinging on to a couple of chances that, by the way, were half chances. There's not one chance in that game today where you're saying Liverpool should have scored. There's not one. And we showed the highlights. There was certainly more Chelsea highlights than there was Liverpool highlights. So I think he's doing what all coaches do, all managers do. They're going on the positive route and talking about what might have been and what could have been. But the truth of the matter is, Chelsea were the better side and Liverpool were miles off it again.